Like many of you, I avoid movies or TV programs that I think are going to have too much of the message, or race swapping, or feminism, or you get the point. But I still own a large collection of DVDs and the like, and I still find good movies, old and new. Sometimes I'm asked for recommendations, and I decided that I should put together a list of movies that others could watch. Of course, we should remember that interests differ, tastes differ, and our tolerance for nonsense differs, so just because I like something doesn't mean that you will. Having said that, I still think that you will find movies to enjoy on this list. Rather than having an impossibly long list, I decided to limit this to 50 movies. These are not necessarily my favourites, but I have enjoyed them all. 1. Citizen Kane. A good story, well acted and important in the history of cinema. 2. The Song of Bernadette. A young woman has a vision of the Virgin Mary, treats religion with respect. 3. Sunset Boulevard. Was surprised that I liked this one. The movie asks what happens when you're no longer famous. 4. The Desert Rats. A character study set during the Siege of Tobruk during World War II. 5. The Silent Enemy. A very accurate movie about the underwater battle between Italian and British frogmen near Gibraltar during World War II. 6. Cleopatra. The movie was so expensive that it put the studio that made it out of business, and you can see everything that they spent up on the screen. Long, effectively 2 movies, and spectacular. 7. The Sand Pebbles. In 1926, a US naval engineer gets assigned to a gunboat on a rescue mission in war-torn China. 8. The Producers. A movie made by Jews about Jews, with Nazis. 9. Easy Rider. I watched this recently, was surprised that I liked it. Well made, well acted. Many don't like this movie, and I understand why. The ending is very heavy-handed, with one of the earliest anti-white endings around. 10. The Wicker Man. The only horror in this movie is at the end. A really great movie. 11. 7 Little Australians. A strict military man marries a much younger woman who is now mother to 6 of his children, and the 7th between them. A series to watch with the family. Young Frankenstein. Very funny parody. 13. I, Claudius. The story of the Roman Emperor Claudius. This is clearly filmed on a stage, but the acting and plot are very good. 14. Guyana Tragedy. The story of Jim Jones. The story of how one man created a cult and convinced over 900 people to commit suicide. 15. Tron. This is an important movie because it introduced computer graphics into film, and it helps explain the background to the other, and I think better, Tron Legacy from 2010. 16. Do the Right Thing. A surprisingly honest look at race relations. 17. Gettysburg. One of the best movies about a battle. Long, but totally worth it. 18. Once Were Warriors. Very violent New Zealand film about a Maori family. Not for the faint of heart. 19. Pride and Prejudice. Classic novel dramatised, a series to watch with a wife or girlfriend. 20. The Day of the Roses. A bridge collapses on a train filled with passengers. It is very good. 21. American History X. I did an entire review of this movie, so you can go check that out. 22. The Insider. The story of a man who decides to make public insider knowledge of the tobacco industry. 23. Galaxy Quest. A fictional crew are mistaken for the real thing, and hilarity ensures. At least I thought so. 24. The Lost Battalion. World War I American battalion becomes lost. A made-for-TV movie that is better than it should be. 25. About Smith. A man retires and looks at his life. 26. Panic Room. I think this is the only thriller on the list, and it's here because it makes sense. A mother and her daughter move into a house and have to use the panic room. 27. Wallace and Edward. TV movie on the reason King Edward VIII abdicated in 1936. 28. The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. I recommend all the Narnia movies, but I like this one the best. Great for family viewing. 29. The Baader Meinhof Complex, German movie on the left-wing terrorist group of the same name. 30. Red Cliff, Chinese movie about a famous battle in the 200 ADs, sort of historical and sort of fantastical. 31. Generation Kill, an accurate picture of the invasion of Iraq in 2003. 32. 127 Hours, man goes hiking by himself and gets his arm trapped. Should be boring, isn't. 33. Tron Legacy, a man travels into a hidden electronic world. 34. Pera's War, TV movie that is good but not great, about an Australian war correspondent in World War II. 35. The Monuments Men, an old-fashioned war movie about men who were recruited to save art during World War II. 36. Trumbo, left-wing screenwriter blacklisted in the 50s. Well made, acted, and as far as I know, accurate. Interesting to look into how Hollywood and the left view one of their heroes. 37. Bridge of Spies. During the Cold War, a man is sent unofficially to get a pilot back from communist captivity. A good story that I think you get more out of the more you know. 38. OJ, Made in America. Nearly 8-hour-long documentary on OJ Simpson. Made by left liberals, it definitely has their point of view. However, in that time, it reveals things about race in America that really highlight points that we make about race. Great footage and interviews, with the highlight being the coverage of the murders and the trial. Quite revealing. 39. The Lost City of Z. A movie that I wish was better than it is. B when it should have been an A. Man explores the jungles of South America. Worth seeing, even though it's not top-notch. 40. Arrival. For some, this will have too much diversity, but I thought the story held up well enough for it to not be as bad as some. Aliens arrive, and we cannot communicate with each other. 41. Sully. Pilot lands plane on a river. The investigation was never the witch hunt shown here, but a good heroic tale nonetheless. 42. All the Money in the World. Grandson of the world's richest man is kidnapped. Good, but it should have been better. Still worth watching. 43. The Senator, or the original title, Chippequiddick. Senator Ted Kennedy and that night at Chippequiddick. 44. Borg McEnroe, or the original title, Borg vs. McEnroe. I'm not much of a sports fan, but here the story is really about the rivalry between two men who happen to be tennis players. 45. Stan and Ollie. Laurel and Hardy go on a tour of Britain in the early 1950s, a lovely tribute with superb acting. 46. A Quiet Place. Aliens attack noise, and people make noise. 47. First Man. First man to walk on the moon. Slow, and there's no American flag on the moon, but apart from that, good. 48. Tolkien. The story of Tolkien's early life. 49. 1917. A bit too much diversity in the background, but other than that, this is quite good. And 50. Apocalypse Now, Final Cut. This movie was released in 1979, then a Redux version was released in 1999. This is the final cut, which was released in 2019. Watch this version, it's the best.